I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm John and I'm the Partnerships Manager at General Assembly, which means I reach out to incredible brands and speakers to help me deliver these events. So we're joined by Enterprise Nation and then Embra Connections, as well as our partners, as well as these amazing speakers that I'll let Lauren, who will be our moderator, kind of introduce. But if you're joining us for the first time and don't know much about who we are, we're a tech education company offering high demand skills in tech. And this is through our full-time and our part-time courses, our classes and workshops, and in these free events as well, where our mission is to empower those to pursue a career they love and help them with the career transition into skills such as UX design, data science, and then software engineering as well. So if you do have any questions about General Assembly, do connect with me. If it's on LinkedIn, happy to get to them there. Or if it's through our FL team, so our Frontlines team, and that's at london@ga.co as well. We are recording this event. A follow-up email will be sent, as well as kind of anything these incredible speakers will want to include in that as well. But I'm going to stop talking and pass you over to Lauren to kick things off. So take it away.
Amazing. Thank you so much, John. Beautifully done as always. My name is Lauren and I work at Enterprise Nation. So for those that aren't familiar with Enterprise Nation, we are a small business support network and we help businesses start, grow and thrive in business. So at the moment, I'm currently in London, very hot. Excuse the bun that's happening on top of the head, but I can't complain because apparently in Scotland it's a lot colder. So I will keep my mouth shut. But yeah, super excited to collaborate on this panel today with John at General Assembly, who always welcomes Enterprise Nation, which is amazing. And I'm super excited that we are joined by some Scotland-based entrepreneurs today, as we actually took one of our events to Scotland last year, Festival of Female Entrepreneurs. It was an amazing day in Edinburgh. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get there this year, but we'll definitely be there next year. So please keep an eye out for that. So we've got lots and lots to get through today, lots of different questions around business journey, ups and downs, imposter syndrome, things to do, things not to do. So hopefully it'll be a really fun and informative, but informal hour. So I will let our lovely panelists introduce themselves, and please do keep chatting in the chat box, as John said. Introduce yourselves, add your social media handles, and also make sure you add your questions for our panel members, and we will try and get through as many questions as possible. So I will let you guys introduce yourself. I'm just going through who I can see first. So Finn, welcome. Please tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Finn Wycherley of Supersize Media. I'm based in Edinburgh and I run a boutique digital marketing agency where we help clients with their social media strategies, their sales strategies, and basically doing all their coaching and training. And we work with Enterprise Nation and Facebook and Instagram to deliver training on their behalf. And I'm a regular on BBC TV and radio, discussing things like the online economy, digital marketing, and the wonderful world of social media.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Finn. You are very welcome. And next we have Ombretta.
Yes, hello. So I am based out of Edinburgh, currently in Italy. So I think I beat everybody's heat on this call at the moment because it's something like 39 degrees outside. I run in a leadership development and coaching practice. I've been in the leadership development space for about 15 years at this point and transitioned into coaching about 5 years ago. And now I focus on developing the next generation of leaders, specifically in family businesses, but just I have a passion about developing junior leaders because they are our future and we need some change. So I like the impact that I can make that way.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining, and from Italy as well. That's brilliant. And next we have Jin. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Jin Lally. I'm also based in Edinburgh. I help people empty their stress buckets and learn all about how their brain works. So I'm a psychotherapist, but I'm based in science, so I love talking about the brain. I'm a huge advocate of women in business and diversity, so I'm really looking forward to the chat today and hope it goes down that avenue quite a bit.
Amazing. Well, very much welcome. And last but not least, we've got Sheetal. Welcome.
Hi, representing West Coast, so based in Glasgow. So my name's Chatal and I kind of have two jobs at the moment. I have a day job with Hilton Hotels, which I'm currently on furlough from. I'm their European Sales Training Manager. But my side hustle, which has turned into much more than that, is that I'm the owner and founder of a street food business called the Pakora Explorer. So we make authentic Indian street food, so pakora. And if anybody hasn't had pakora, especially for some of our European guests, feel free to check out our website and find out more about it. But we also produce our own spice blends and our own chai tea. And yeah, based here in Glasgow, used to go to events and festivals and weddings all over the country, but currently set up a sort of static area at the moment, which is quite new for a food truck to just be stationed. And I'm also the local leader for Enterprise Nation. So for anybody here from Glasgow, we have local leader sort of meetings, the Heads Up campaign, and there's one coming up on Monday. So I'm the local leader for that for Enterprise Nation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chatal. It's lovely to hear everything that you do. And I'm so excited that, you know, it's a lot of different diverse industries that we've got today, and from Pakora to the brain to social media to training. Amazing. So I guess the first question I would like to ask, because of obviously everybody's diverse day, what does a typical day look like? Obviously, this might differ now in the new normal as we are sort of still within obviously coronavirus, but I would love to know what a typical day is like for you. So Finn, tell us more.
So normally we're set up for Corona years in advance anyway, because I have a policy of always recruiting women with babies and children or pregnant who want to be able to continue with their career around their family's needs. So because of the fact that I have 5 children, I wanted to build a business that would actually allow me to help the kids with everything that they needed, as well as work the hours that were required for the business. So as far as the team is concerned, they can all work whatever hours they want, so long as the clients are happy and the deadlines are being met. So we're used to the home working situation easily, but I'm very, very focused on making sure that the health and well-being aspects of life are prioritized. So I normally spend about 2.5 hours in the morning doing yoga and meditation. Yes. And then after that, I can actually kickstart my day with a good plan of activities of what's going to be hopefully achieved. And then I account to myself about what I actually was able to achieve, and then prioritize for what's going to be happening the next day. So it all goes swimmingly. And then in the evening, I normally try and do a good hour and a half of walking as well. So it keeps the mind, body, and soul connected.
Amazing. Model panelist over here. Oh my goodness, you put us all to shame. No, that's amazing. I know Finn and I have spoken recently about sort of mindfulness and the importance of a morning routine. So that is amazing. If anyone else has a strong morning routine, do add in the chat. We want to hear from you. Umbretta, let's come to you. What does a normal day look like in the life of Umbretta?
Well, now I really don't feel like it was fair for me to follow Finn, and she should have gone last. My routine is really dependent on whatever work is happening at the moment. So I have both European and global clients, mostly in the European time zone, including South Africa, and then I have some projects in the US. So depending on what takes precedence, I'm either up early in the morning or up early in the morning but awake from the rest of the day. So I'll be up until like 2-3 in the morning if I'm still working with the US. So it's really project driven. So that's the disciplining factor. I guess I can tap into Finn for some tips on how to create a little more structure there.
Jin, let's come to you. What does a day look like in the life of Jin?
The reason I went self-employed is because I don't want a typical day. I'm going to go a bit left field here.
Great answer. Carry on.
I do not have one day that's like the next one. So, and that's the reason I wanted to work for myself. And that's just my greatest joy, that every day is different. So yes, I have appointments like with clients, I'll do a webinar, I'm doing a presentation, they're booked in. But one morning I could be having coffee with a friend. And the next morning I need to make sure that I am up and I'm doing some writing. So the reason I went self-employed is for that flexibility. No day is typical in my life, really. So it's actually very difficult for me to answer that question. Yes, there's some routines. Yeah, you know, I like to, you know, it's making sure I'm hydrated all the time. I make sure I'm eating properly. My bedtime routine, I'm a huge advocate of sleep. So my sleep is non-negotiable. So I have that set routine that I know what I'm going to do, but I wouldn't say I have a typical day. Can I say that? I want to, you know, come at this angle with it.
Absolutely. No, I totally admire that. And like you say, you know, you went self-employed for the flexibility and, you know, the unknown, which is amazing. And totally agree with sleep. Absolute game changer to get your 8 hours at night. So yeah, totally agree. And last but not least, Sheetal, tell us what life is like for you.
Gosh, well, I am by nature, I'm a typically structured person, and actually throughout this period of time, I feel more unstructured. I think probably some constants that I have in my life is I am very much a morning person, so my day will start around sort of 6:30, and I've had people that have asked me for calls, and I say to them, if you want a call with me, you need to do it somewhere between 7 and 9 in the morning, because then my day starts, and I could be anything from being on the food truck. So even when I finish this call, I'm jumping in the car, heading down to Hillington in Glasgow to open up the food truck, and I'll spend the next 3 hours, whether it's serving customers or cleaning or prepping food. And then in between that, during the day, I'm also trying to balance social media planning, responding to inquiries, things like that for next year. But similar to Jen, actually, one thing I do have is a very strong bedtime routine. I'm not so good on the exercise. I'd love to say I'm meditating, I'm not. But bedtime, I'm in bed by about 10:30 because my day starts so early. And that involves the TV getting switched off, you know, chilling myself out, essential oils, whatever it might be. So I'm on Gin when it comes to the bedtime routine as well.
So we have learned who you guys are, what you do. So now we will dive into some juicy questions. So the first one, I guess, is all around imposter syndrome, which I think is a little bit of a buzzword. It has been for, I'd say, a couple of years now. That feeling of, you know, do I belong in this role? Do I belong, you know, in this arena, in this room? And I think it's something that we have as women all dealt with, and you know, we've had the feelings of imposter syndrome. But I'm really, really keen to learn maybe an experience where you've had imposter syndrome and maybe how you've overcome it. So I'm just going to be a bit random, but if you've got anything to add, give me a wave. Gin, let's come to you.
It's about understanding imposter syndrome is quite natural. We all want to do our best. So everything is going through the negative filter in your brain. What if this goes wrong? What if I can't do it? I won't be good at this. Once you understand that everything goes through the negative filter, you're like, okay, this is just the process. It's about coming straight back out into the more objective and rational and intelligent part of your brain and going with it with that. So for me, yes, I have a voice of doubt. We all have that voice of doubt in our head. We all have it, whether we're women or men. It's just that men in general come out of it really quickly. As women, I feel sometimes we can get consumed by it because we do stay in tune with our feelings a little bit more. So what I do is for work especially, I will look at the work that I do. I read the reviews that my clients have given me. I remember the feedback that they've given me. And I'm really lucky in that I've got a really good support network around me. So family and friends and colleagues. Everyone around me is very, very supportive, and that's made a huge difference to me as well. So understand that everyone has a voice of doubt. It's just how quickly you can quieten it down and get back into the positive part of your brain as well.
Has anybody else got any more experiences with imposter syndrome that they'd like to share? Finn, you're nodding.
I feel like there's a massive kind of mindset shift that has to happen when you're starting up a business, because when you're an employee, you're generally a lot more passive about what's happening in your life. So therefore, you know, you're following instructions, you're doing what helps you, you know, cover your arse and make sure that the boss is happy and make sure you're doing the best job that you can possibly do. But then when you're actually starting to think about moving into having your own business, then it means that you have to be a person that starts taking action. And that can be quite debilitating for people who've not had that responsibility necessarily very strongly in their lives. So it can take quite some time to be able to overcome those natural blocks that come up when it means it's time to take action, it's time to make a decision. So I find that you just have to be a lot more patient with yourself and recognize that this is part of the territory of moving into being a boss.
Definitely. No, that's really, really helpful. And then the next question I had is all around sort of dealing with, I guess, criticism as a business owner. Maybe it is with a service you provided, or somebody hasn't got something quite nice to say. And I think it's always easier said than done to brush it off. But I would love to hear your experiences, maybe the way, you know, you've coped with it. Sheetal, can we come to you?
Yeah, so what I produce is I produce our own homemade family recipe pakora. So I produce what we have on our kitchen table. So when you take that out to the public and try and scale it up, it's quite nerve-wracking because, you know, I'm essentially saying, hey guys, come and be part of my family. And so I actually hate it when people stay and eat the food in front of me, because it makes me really nervous, because I still thinking, oh my God, what if they don't like it? And I had a situation where somebody came to pick up some food and they drove away, and then they came back, and I wouldn't actually go out and speak to them. I made my chef go out and speak to me. Like, oh no, something's wrong. And he actually said, oh no, I forgot to order 3 more portions for I got to the office and 3 of my colleagues said, why didn't you get us some? So we had to come back and get more. And I think this is a really great example where I should know that I'm producing good food, because as you say, the customers are telling me, the reviews, those aren't my friends that have left reviews, those are customers, and I need to read that and believe it. And I think that can obviously have an impact, and that's where you need to step up as a business owner, because in my role with Hilton, I'm used to dealing with customers all the time, whether it's hotels, team members, and I would deal with that no differently with, you know, whether it's my own business or Hilton. So you have to take the skills that you've already got and apply them into this role. But yeah, so yeah, I do get nervous when people eat my food and things like that, because it's personal. This is my family recipe, and if they don't like it, it's like, you don't like my family, and that's not what they're saying at all. Actually, what they're saying is, hey, there's something I could maybe improve on or change. And that's where you have to take that feedback and say, right, is this 1 review out of 50, or is this 1 review out of 10? And that takes a lot of getting used to in the mindset.
Have you had any experiences yourself where you've had to cope with criticisms?
So whenever you run a training, at the end of the training, it's customary to hand out an evaluation of the experience that they had. So that moment when you're waiting for the feedback to come in, it's always, especially if you've designed the training, which happens in my case, that's similar to Sheetal. It's like, that's your baby. Like, you created that product, and then it's really just sitting with it. I accept whatever emotional reaction is coming up, and then I try to look at it as objectively as possible. Like, is the feedback that I've gotten, is it helpful? Like, is it actionable? Or is it somebody just said, well, that sucked, and that doesn't give me any context, because I don't know, well, what part of it sucked? Like, what should I change about it? Or similarly, also to Sheetal, it depends, like, did I get one negative feedback out of 20? Well, I already go into it knowing I can't please everybody. I actually don't want to please everybody. So it's really looking at it as objectively as I can and figuring out what can I pull from that so that I can improve the next time, because it's an iterative process. Every time you run the training, there's something new that you learn about it, and you tweak it ever so slightly. And this is true for any service, social media, coaching, like whatever product or service you offer, it always should be a road to mastery. So there's this constant evolving and growing. So
yeah, I just want to say that from a marketing perspective, any negativity that comes into your business is a real opportunity, because most customers, most consumers are just going to be like, okay, that was a good service. But if they have a bad experience or a bad element to the experience, and they want to bring it to you, it means they do have an expectation that you're going to deliver something better. And then if you over deliver on the back of it, so say, for example, you had a bad experience at an airline, they upgrade you to first class. Hello, now I'm suddenly a mad fan. Same with the hotel experience. You know, you didn't have a great experience, there was too much traffic outside, and then you put in a negative review on TripAdvisor. Then all of a sudden the head of the region is coming back and saying, oh, I'm so sorry you had that terrible experience. Make sure next time you come to speak to me personally, I will personally escort you to the best room in the whole hotel, etc., etc. So everything is about the possibility of deepening the relationship and upgrading them.
Absolutely. We've had a well said, Finn. So that's helpful. Jin, can we hear from you? I
Yeah.
absolutely love that I'm saying Finn and Jin, by the way. Jin, let's come to you.
It's just very much feedback is feedback failure, sorry, is feedback, isn't it? And you can't please everyone all of the time. But isn't it so strange how we will focus on that 1 out of 50 good reviews, you will focus on the 1 negative. Or you get 50 compliments for something and one person says, oh, your hair doesn't look nice. And that's all you can think about. It's just the way the brain works, that we are looking out for the negatives. So you will obsess about it. But yeah, if you can turn that around to a positive, and people in general, when they give you negative feedback, they're not saying it to be mean. They're saying, look, I just didn't like this. And then if you can, like Finn said, you're going to go back and say, well, how can I improve? We all want to improve. We all want to get better. So that's the way to look at it. And something like taste, Sheetal, with your pakoras, I mean, if someone, it's so subjective. Like, if, you know, everybody likes most people like the taste, and someone says, oh no, they're a bit too spicy, like, or I didn't like the taste. It's so subjective. I think the sort of, that industry is really, when I see bad reviews for something didn't taste good in a restaurant, I'm like, it's just your personal taste.
Yeah, yeah. I think one thing I'll sort of say on this and feedback is, I think it's also about being aware of the impact that feedback can have. So as a small business, you know, any, like, reading that, a lot of, you know, people could pick up, if you're a big player, a Pizza Hut, a delivery, you know, Pizza Hut, you know, Domino's, whoever it might be, you would kind of expect that given the chain. But as a small business, and especially because I'm still involved day to day, I feel like I should be able to give everybody 100% quality all the time, you know. So it's absolutely, as you say, you've got to be objective in that feedback and go, right, is it something I need to improve on, or is that just someone's opinion that actually they're completely welcome to, and as you say, it might not be to their taste. And you have to really coach yourself to start understanding that. That's not easy.
If I can add just briefly to that, a lot of that, how the feedback impacts you, depends on the clarity and how solid your idea of what you offer is. Because if you're feeling uncertain about the product or service that you're offering, any feedback is going to sway you massively, because you're going to get that as it's confirmation that I don't know what I'm doing. But if you have clarity of what you're offering, then you can make that judgment call of saying, okay, I get their point. It doesn't matter to me. Like, it's not valuable input, and I'm not going to take action on it.
So Finn, I'm going to come across to you all around. I guess you mentioned about creating a safe working environment for women. You employ mums, expectant mums, etc. So how have you created a workforce and a work environment that values females and provides a safe space for them to work? Talk us through.
So it was always my kind of childhood dream, you know, of being able to provide that kind of environment, because when I was growing up, you know, you saw really talented women being sidelined all the time because suddenly the child rearing responsibilities took priority, and kids can take up a lot of time, never mind energy. So it was always, it's a crying shame for any economy to see, you know, really talented, bright, capable women not seeing the opportunities that they can achieve, because obviously they have to, sometimes they want to go part-time and then they don't get the promotion opportunities and everything like that. So it's a very challenging situation for their career to be able to keep on, you know, being at the forefront of development for their particular sector. So I just built it around making sure that, you know, if they want to be able to spend most of the time when the kid's at school or at nursery, you know, working on the tasks that they have to do, then that's fine. And then they want to pick up after the kid's in bed, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, so long as the clients are happy and the deadlines are being met, then there are no issues. But working in a kind of home-based environment for many years now, we are very religious about making sure that we're communicating, so that if anybody needs to be cut some slack because shit's going down like it inevitably does in families and in situations, then we're all ready and prepared to actually pick up the slack for her.
Amazing. No, that's really, really great to hear. And definitely, I think communication is key, isn't it, when you're working remotely? Has anyone else got any thoughts on that topic around providing a safe, you know, working environment for women?
Yeah, what Finn's described there is really understood how there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's just called life. You know, once you separate work and life, what are you saying that one is bad and one is good? It's your whole life. Work is a part of life. If you can do something you enjoy, brilliant, but it's got to work around children, your other commitments, and then something happens in your personal life. How can you manage your work? If your work gets stressful, does that impact how your personal relationships are going? So I hope very much that what's happened with COVID-19 and lockdown, people will start to learn, especially with everyone working at home, that it's not about work-life balance. We can't split the two. It's the whole thing. It's the big picture.
So I'm going to come across to a different question now, all around, I guess, your journey and maybe having mentors to help you along the way, or what inspired you to be business owners. So Ambretta, we'll come across to you. Have you ever had any mentors yourself? And if so, what has your experiences been?
Well, working in the coaching community, we're all mentors. You said mentors, right? I'd heard you well. Okay, yes. So we all end up being mentors in a way to each other. I manage a group of coaches that work in the corporate space. And so we often lean on each other whenever there's a situation, because we have in the group people that are just starting off and some that have 20 plus years of experience. So it's more of a collective mentorship in a way. And I'm blessed that I'm in my network, people that I trust and that I can reach out to. So definitely having that gut check, especially as you're trying something new, it isn't so much it's just like, okay, I have this idea. Am I totally off, or am I at least on the right path? It gives you the confidence to move forward and stretch yourself a little bit. So mentors, absolutely. I think they're crucial as you grow your business.
Amazing, yeah. And Sheetal, coming across to you, obviously it was a family business, and you know it's so much heart and soul into it. Did you seek mentorship for I guess the kind of more logistics and the business side of things, or did you maybe just go for it yourself? Talk us through your sort of business journey.
Well, when I actually made the decision to kind of go into this, I actually spoke to my mum and dad. But you know, my dad's very much my mum and dad coming from an Asian background. Not actually a typical Asian family, and I'm just going to stereotype a little bit here. But you know, there's expectations and you know, within the Asian community, you know, get a good job, get married, and I've just done none of that. Because my parents haven't expected me to do any of that, and unfortunately for my parents, they kept telling me you can do whatever you want to do. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to now. And actually, my dad has been my right-hand man, because my dad actually has. He has no qualifications to his name. He's also partly dyslexic, but he's been a manager of a bus company and he's managed other things. And it's his work ethic that I take. It's his hard working, and he's very good at logistics. And my mum is very good at, because she's actually very well read and things, so she's very good at reading things for me. So I think where mentors come in lots of different forms, and I go to different people for different things. So I will go to my friends for different parts of advice. I will go to my mum and dad for different parts of advice, but they're from a different generation and they don't understand things like social media. So my dad's like, what do you mean you got 6,000 views in this video? Like, how does that happen? How did you do that? And you know, so I think you have to go from different to different people. But one thing I would say is you also have to trust your gut. I'm making a decision for my business right now, and I've spoken to my parents, I've spoken to my friends, I've spoken to other people in business, and actually it's my gut that's decided what I'm going to do, because I've got a history in business. I had a great career, or have a great career with Hilton, with experience, and I've got that knowledge. So mentors are fantastic. I couldn't have got to where I am without people coaching, but just be careful that too much advice can also spin your head and you go, well, now I don't know what to do because I've got lots of different places. So yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I think that's resonating with a lot of our audience today. They've said learning to trust ourselves is so important. So yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts from anyone else?
Yeah, I work with Creative Edinburgh. That's the kind of umbrella body for everybody that works in the creative industry. So that's graphic designers, tech people, web designers, marketers, and everything like that. So that I work as a, I volunteer as a mentor for the different people in that community. And, you know, it's fantastic to be able to work with a couple of individuals over a 6-month period and actually help them to navigate the way ahead. Because I think when you're starting up in business, you know, it's like a tabula rasa. It's an open terrain. You don't really know what's coming up ahead. So I think it's absolutely essential to work with somebody who knows the terrain and can steer you away from making the crappy decisions that will end up taking so much time away from what you're trying to do, or even money, even worse. And when I was starting up in my business as well, I worked with Mari Smith. I went out and looked for the most successful person who epitomized where I wanted to be. So I worked with Mari Smith, who's like the top Facebook guru in the US and in the world. And so she was able to, you know, guide me and keep me straight and give me loads and loads of clients as well, mainly from America and Canada. So it was fantastic to start like that. And I think for anybody working in business, it's really, really essential to have some kind of coach, because it keeps you accountable for what you're trying to do, and it keeps you measurable, and it helps you to move ahead quickly. Because it's just like if you're in the gym regularly, you know, you can just kind of go tick, I've been to the gym, tick, but you actually haven't pushed yourself. You know, if you get a personal trainer, they're going to be, okay, they're going to be, well done, you got this far, now we're taking you to the next level, let's go. And I think that's how you have to look at it when it comes to business or marketing or health or anything like that. Try and get your coaches and your mentors. Your coaches you have to pay for, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's really great advice. And I think that aligns really lovely with, I guess, finding your tribe and finding those people that can really empathize with you and soundboard and, you know, chat through an issue with you. So I think, you know, something that is super important that I've learned along the way working with some great female entrepreneurs is the power of finding your tribe and finding those like-minded people that are going to really support and push you on your journey. Family are fantastic, they are super supportive, but do they get it, whatever that might mean in whatever context? So I think it is super important to ensure that you are surrounding yourselves with the right people, and the people that get it. You know, it's ups and downs, it's twists and turns as life as an entrepreneur. So definitely as well, finding those people that can really empathize with you and support you is really important. So we're going to come across to Ombretta. So I'm going to ask you if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about starting a career or an own business, what would it be?
Concern yourself with what others think. And most of the time, people are really not concerned about what you are doing or what you're saying or how you're presenting, but it's always a reflection of them. How does it impact them? So going back to what we said earlier, that you can never please all people. It's about figuring out what makes you happy and then just doing that unapologetically. And I thought that's what I was doing for many years. And then as you step into the personal development world, there are layers on there that social constructs and conditioning impose on you. And so shedding those sooner would have probably moved my career along faster and given me clarity of direction. I'm still happy with the way my life went. I've learned a lot. Having known that sooner would have probably just hopefully brought me where I am now sooner.
A little bit of an open-ended question there.
Yeah. I'd say that only you notice your mistakes. No one is going to notice your mistakes. No one. So if someone could have told me that when I was 20, I wouldn't have been so bothered about what Ombretta was touching on, what are other people thinking as well, because that's the fear of failure. That's where it comes in. So no one, if you make a mistake, no one will notice. I guarantee you. So in hindsight, that's what I've learned.
Amazing. Anyone else?
Yeah, I also think everybody has to set up a business, because nowadays, you know, you have to look at your kind of life as a portfolio career. You know, you might be a full-time job for a while, you might be doing a bit of freelancing, you might be actually working on your own business. So it can always be ticking away in the background and building up kind of a social and financial equity for you for the future.
Absolutely. Sheetal, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing I realized later on. I mean, I still think I'm young personally, so, you know, I'm just going to go with that. But, you know, there are some things about me you are never going to change. And for anybody on this call who is maybe working for an employer or is an employer themselves, and you have these monthly reviews and these check-ins and PDRs or whatever you want to call them. And the amount of times I've had feedback where it was like, look, you know, when you're presenting, you're talking too fast, or, you know, could you have handled this differently? And there's all those conversations, which are great, and they're coaching, and you can learn from them. But ultimately, there are some things you're never going to change about me. I'm an organized person. I do speak too fast when I'm presenting, and I go 100 miles an hour. And if I had known that when I was younger, I wouldn't have spent so much time trying to change those, because those are the things that made me me. What I can change is, all right, how can I present myself better, or how would I handle a situation like that differently? That's what you can change, but you're not going to change the core of you. So don't let people try and change that. Be true to yourself as to what those characteristics are.
I'm going to come across, I'm really conscious that it's thunder and lightning. Hopefully you can hear, it's a bit distracting. Finally, it's going to get cooler. So we've talked about what you would tell your younger self. What advice would you give now to anyone sat there in the audience? Maybe they've got a corporate job and they're on the edge of just going for it. They want to build a side hustle. They want to start a passion project or really turn something into a business. What advice would you give, Finn?
So I would start with giving yourself time. I mean, it takes so from deciding, okay, I'm going to set up a business, to actually making your first penny or pound or £100 or £100,000, it can take quite some time. So give yourself some time. It's going to take about 6 months at least before you get your website set up and your training is all done on social media, and you kind of know what you're doing and you know what your strategy is now. So give yourself time for that, and then give yourself another 6 months to actually start, you know, really getting into the business and understanding all the aspects, because there's so many aspects to business, like human resource part, the finance part, you know, there's so much to learn. So give yourself a good year. Therefore, don't give up the day job, or make sure you've always got some kind of financial security going, and don't throw everything out and say, right, that's it. On Monday, I start my business and I'm hoping to sell something on Monday pretty much. So just give yourself some time, give yourself some room, and don't put extra stress on the business by being all in on it from the get-go.
Absolutely. No, that's really, really great advice. And Sheetal, 2 words?
Well, I wrote do it. But I think there's some parts of Finn's that I would echo, because obviously I'm sitting here and I'm on furlough from a day job for the exact same reason, is that I didn't go all into the business, because I genuinely actually love my job with Hilton, and that's another reason that I haven't actually finished it yet, because I actually really like what I do. However, what I would say though is be aware of when it's holding you back, because I split my time. And so I quite literally have to segregate my life between Hilton, and I've been very strict with them as to what I can do in my hours, and they've been strict with me to say Hilton time is Hilton time, Pecora time is Pecora time. And so just be careful that you have to take a step at some point to go for it. But absolutely, I was going to take that step this year. This pandemic happened, and if it had, I would be in a very, very different place right now. So I'm very grateful. However, if let's say normal, whatever normal is for next year, then I could be having a very different conversation with my employer to say, well, actually, the business is where I need it to be now, and I can give it 110%. Because the other thing is, I'm burning myself out doing 2 jobs, you know, and I'm very aware. Even now on furlough, I'm still doing things. So just be aware of that. So I would say go for it. But like Finn said, you gotta have a plan. Have a plan in the background, know where you're going to start, and also know where your skill set is. So yes, I deliver sales training for Hilton, so sales and marketing, no bother. But HR, contracting, no, way over my head, and I had to get help with that. And you know, there were some things I had to farm out to other people. So I think it's a combination. But yeah, maybe the time is just do it. Nobody quit their jobs and say that Sheetal saying right? just
well,
like that.
Yeah. Well, I listened to a panel the other night and she said just go. But it's interesting what you said. You know, I think when you are a business owner, you are a marketer, social media, finance, HR. So what advice would you give, maybe if we come to yourself, Jin, if someone's a little bit apprehensive about starting their own business because they don't feel that they know enough in certain areas. Should that put them off at all?
You won't know enough in every area. You won't. So learn that first. You're not going to know everything as much as you want to. But there are so many people to help you. There's someone out there that will help you. Sometimes, you know, there's even free help like Business Gateway. Do some reading. So if you're just thinking about starting a business now, do not underestimate the amount of work that goes into it. However, you don't need to know you don't need a degree in HR, you don't need a degree in marketing. There will be someone to help you. However, right now, if you're not even focusing on, you want to set up a business, you don't know the idea, do not underestimate your physical and mental health now. Get that sorted, get your life organized, make sure all your relationships are fine, your physical health is good, your mental health is good, because the last thing you want in the middle of running a business is something else to fall apart. So there's something you can still do, even if you are in an employed job at the moment, you're thinking about a business, start reading some business books, some mental health books, making sure you're getting lots of fresh air, just looking after yourself. Because do not underestimate the work that goes on in the background. It's not all glamorous as well, but you do not have to know everything. No one does, none of us. Does anyone here know everything?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so Umbretta, we've had a couple of questions. I'm going to come through to yourself first. Do you have any advice for people, particularly women, who are trying to sell themselves at the moment and move jobs? So I guess it's all about kind of personal branding and making yourself shine, maybe in interviews.
So I'm guessing this is a career change or not stepping into entrepreneurship. That's how I'm reading the question. If that's not the case, please clarify.
I think move jobs. So yeah, we'll go with that at the moment. But if Ray, if you need to clarify, then go ahead.
Similar to what I would have contributed to the previous two questions, my first question is, why do you want to move? So are you trying a different career because you're not happy where you are? Well, why aren't you happy where you are? Because if you're running away from a situation, then there's some personal development there, opportunity for you. It's likely that it's likely you'll find that same or similar situation in the new job, and then you haven't really resolved anything. So what is the intention behind this move? What's the driving force behind it? Is it because you found something that you're more passionate about? Then do an inventory. Like, do you have the skill set? Talk to people who are already in that position and understand, do I have what it takes to step into that position? And if not, go get trained and then apply for it. It's a sort of a broad question, so it's hard to answer. The variables could be many. But being objective, understanding why you want it and what you need to have to get it are probably the two key questions that I'd find answers to first.
Once you're past the first year or two of starting a business, our needs can change from getting started to how to grow, and it can be quite lonely. What advice would you give to finding support, for example, 5 years in?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I mean, as Jen was saying, there's lots of kind of support from the kind of business gateways and the business hubs and everything, but they're kind of like for the startup type of situation. When you've already had a business for a couple of years, you need to get into the growth mindset, and you need to look at ways to expand and refine your proposition as well. So again, I would always go with the coach, somebody who's several steps ahead of where you're at. And then make sure that you're working with them and their network. Always be looking several steps ahead of where you need to be, and make sure that you're driving yourself in that direction. Yeah.
Amazing. Any more thoughts from anyone?
Yeah, I think keep networking. I think what people do in the beginning, you're just running a business, you've just opened your business, you're networking because you're making all the connections. And then you get into the business, you get busier, and you kind of back off the networking. And I think that's a mistake people make. You still, one, need to remind people you're still around. And two, you will still be continuing to make connections, and you'll be growing with other people's businesses. So people you started networking with who were also at the beginning of their business, maybe you've grown together and you're still using each other's network. So that there's someone on this call, Colin, who always says it's not about what you know, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. So if people know you, your network, you will draw a network towards you. you will have people around you that will do that. So we can get caught up in our own business and we back off the networking. So I know, you know, I've seen people who are in the beginning of their business networking loads and then they disappear. That doesn't mean their business is closed. It's just they've got really busy. But, you know, still going to some regular networking, I think still really makes a difference. I think it's still really valuable.
So maybe not a 5-year plan, maybe it's a 1-year plan, a 1-month plan, but I'd love to know what's next for you and your business. So Sheetal, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've heard something on Instagram. You're a partnership maybe with someone else. Tell us more.
God, to be honest, Lauren, I am literally just trying to keep my business going right now. That's the situation we're in. So we started up on Deliveroo this week, you know, first days, because obviously we don't have the events and festivals, so it's very early days. You know, I hope that comes through for me, but we are looking at that kind of retail side of things, because I've been sort of shown that we are this premium pakora provider. So yes, there are other places and manufacturers we can get pakora, but we were seen as a kind of premium, and people are really respecting the family side of our business and things like that. So we are looking at going into retail with that. So that's a whole other area that I now need to learn or get some help with. I'm fortunate that I do have a lot of people offering support, but yeah, Deliveroo is where I'm at. But I'll be honest, I'm now in the point where I've got scenarios for next month, next 2 months, the end of the year, and what I'm going to do for next year, because I've got wedding inquiries for next year, and I'm having to say to these couples, well guys, you don't know what weddings are going to be like next year. I don't know if I'm going to have a business next year. Like, that's where things are going. But then on the flip side, I'm trying to flip everything I can online. So we started these online pakora making classes, and before lockdown we were going to do cooking with my mum, so cooking with Mama Pakora. And so I said to my mum, hey, National Curry Week's coming up, let's resurrect this. And she's like, yeah, what do I need to do? And tell me when I need to do my hair and my makeup. So I think as much as I'm scenario planning and what does 1 month, 2 months, it is changing by the day. And for anybody who's on this call, I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted from pivoting. And you just keep going, keep doing it. Don't give up. We'll get there in the end, and maybe we'll regroup at the end of the year and say, hey, so what happened after you asked me that question?
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that is so honest and transparent. You know, the amount of times we've heard adapting, pivoting, it must be exhausting. And I totally agree. You know, caveating it is about survival at the moment. And I do hope and pray that, you know, businesses will come out the other end of this. But at the same time, you know, it's still good to have aspirations and goals and things you want to achieve. So Jin, let me come across to you.
I saw a mixture of people previous to lockdown, face-to-face and online. I've taken my business completely online now, and I'm loving it. So it works really well. I think people need to be open to this more, you know, people having medical consultations online. So this is the way it's going to go. So I want to be the first person people think of when it comes to stress and anxiety. So this Jin instead of that other Jin would be good. Yeah. But yeah, to get the message out there. And the other thing I want is for us to stop talking about mental health. I just want it to be this thing that we are managing, we're doing, and because it isn't difficult, we've made it so much bigger than it is. There's a difference between being a bit annoyed, mental health, and then serious mental illness. Mm-hmm. So this group in the middle, you're fine. We're all struggling at the moment. We're all, you know, people are surprised. They think I'm always positive. No, I'm not, because I wouldn't be human. So I think that's my vision for the next few years. I want to stop talking about mental health. And if there's anything that annoys me more, it's Mental Health Awareness Week or month. We've had enough awareness. There's plenty of awareness. Thank you very much. We want action now. We want action. And that action is actually very simple as well. So I think we need to go back to balance of life, how we are balancing our lives. And that we'll stop talking about mental health then altogether, or mental illness, I should say.
Yeah, I think that's been the same for a lot of people actually that have sort of gone completely online, should I say? Yeah. And yeah, you know, loving it and thriving, and it's a whole different environment to work in, which is brilliant. Umbretta, what about yourself?
Probably that's a good question, because just like everybody else on this call, I'm open to whatever the future holds. So my business has been online for the past 5 years. I believe a good portion of it will continue to be online. For me, it's been tweaking the messaging. So the services that I offer, I think were more aspirational yesterday and are turning to more essential today. So it's, if anything, the current situation has gained me some traction, if not the contrary. It's brought to the forefront a series of organizational issues that were like, yeah, we know that this isn't working quite well, but you know, we have other priorities. Now all of a sudden those dysfunctions have become a priority. And so in a sense, that's helped me. How that's going to take life and what it's going to look like, I'm open. I'm sort of following the flow and figuring out how the industry is changing. But there's definitely opportunity there. And that's true for anybody, any service that you offer. Watch the market, listen to people's needs, and figure out how you fit into the new conversation.
Oh, I'm so excited about the next 5 years because my 5th child has finally finished high school. That's me being 32 years a full-time mother. I'm just about to graduate. I can't believe it. So she'll be moving on to do her gap year and her university and stuff like that. Still bouncing in and out for the next 5 years. But suddenly a whole area of my life has just opened up, and obviously I'm going to do loads more yoga, spirituality, meditation, do loads more retreats and things. I was already in Bali this year having a beautiful Zen experience. And then we launched the podcast, the Get Real Online podcast, for people who are thinking about setting up in business and all the things that they need to be thinking about, from the mental bit to the Facebook bit to the strategies bit as well. So that's all tick. And then we're moving into like a really good series of kind of YouTube videos, educational videos, and online training courses as well, so people could just help themselves to the training as opposed to being physically trained at a specific time every single week. So it's more like the online experience where you can just go through the modules at your own speed and then meet up on a weekly basis to ask all the questions and get the hot seats and stuff. So excited.
So really quickly, as we come to an end, how are our audience best to connect with you today? Sheetal, let's come to you.
Yeah, so I'm on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Pecora Explorer. I've also set up Pinterest as well for the recipes that we're doing. My website, www.pecoraexplorer.co.uk. And for anyone in the Glasgow area, we're based in Hillington Industrial Estate. We've just put up a map of our delivery areas. We do collection, delivery. Come and try our food, help keep me going. And just apologies for anyone who's put anything in the chat box. I can't actually see it because I'm in on my iPad, so I know that Lauren hopefully will be able to see that. So if I haven't actually responded to anybody, I'll be able to see that. But of course, then I'm on LinkedIn. So if there is more of a business connection, shall we say, LinkedIn is, I prefer LinkedIn for that. But from the social aspect, I'm on all the socials.
Amazing. And Jin, how can we connect with you?
I'm as Jin Lally on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. I've got a private Facebook page called How to Empty Your Stress Bucket. We do a lot of stuff on there, activities and that kind of thing, and I do loads of lives on that one. And I've got a podcast called Stress Bucket Solutions, if you want to hear more of my chat.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Ombretta, how can we connect with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn as Ombretta Mancini, and then as Own Your Step, which is my business, on pretty much all social media platforms. LinkedIn is probably the one where I'm on most often, so I'll just pop it here in the chat so people can see it. But anybody that wants to reach out, I'm always open for conversations, meeting new people, so happy to connect.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And finally, Finn.
Yeah, pretty much every platform you can find me as Finn Wycherley, or you can find the business of Supersize Media. That's supersizemedia.co.uk, and then the podcast is Get Real Online with Finn Wycherley.
Amazing. Yeah, so people have thanked for a great session, great insights and comments. So thank you all so much. What else have we got? Great website, Jin. Thank you so much. Amazing. So yeah, I just want to thank you all. It's been really great to get all of your experiences and your top tips as amazing entrepreneurs. So I wish you all the very, very best of luck in your continued journey. And I do hope that I can speak to you again very soon. And everyone who's listening, please do connect with our lovely panelists today, as I'm sure they would love to connect with you, hear from you, and also try Pakora as well. So all have an amazing evening, and thank you all for being here. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.